everyone, I'm Kate Bergner here today with Dr. Tom Phelan, author and creator of 123 Magic, as well as the Manager Mom Epidemic. Dr. Phelan, welcome.
Hi, Kay. How you doing?
Oh, I'm all right. It's one of those weeks, I think. I've talked to a lot of people who are like, oh, this week. So I don't know if Mercury's in retrograde or what it is.
It's the COVID and technological EBGBs.
Yes, we all get those sometimes. Absolutely. So today we are going to talk about both sibling rivalry and the myth of whole family fun, which is one of my favorite things to talk about as an introvert, let me tell you. So let's start out by talking about sibling rivalry. I know that this is one of the things that you address in the core 123 Magic book. So for all the parents out there who have kids that bicker and fight a lot, why are they doing this?
Sibling rivalry is eternal. It's evolutionary. It's intense. It's totally stupid. And you better get used to it because it's not going to go away. It's with our two kids, it was the biggest problem my wife and I felt we had. And we did not enjoy it at all. But I think that gets parents into semi-magical thinking about what can I do to banish it from the house or to make it go away. The other thing it gets parents into thinking is that maybe I'm being a bad parent or maybe my kids are mentally ill. And the first two things you want to do is get rid of those two thoughts, because it doesn't mean you're a bad parent and it doesn't mean your kids are mentally ill, even though it's very aggravating.
Well, I think both of those things are a relief to hear, certainly. So I have a question. My kids are almost 6 and 2.5, not quite 3. And I haven't noticed a ton of sibling rivalry yet. Is there a particular age where kids really start to kind of butt heads a lot? Or is there sort of, adding on to that, is there an age gap? Is it kids who are closer together fight more, kids who are further apart fight more? Kind of what does that look like? What can
it's more the second. It's more the age gap. So if you have 6 and 2, that's a good gap. And the closer they are in age, the more fighting you're going to get. If they're the same sex, the more fighting you're going to get. Twins, as a rule, are going to be the worst, because how much similar can you get than twins? So if you get a big, you have a 6-year-old and 2-year-old, the 6-year-old could be sort of playmate, parent, guide, and all that to the 2-year-old. Whereas if it was a 5 and a 6-year-old, they're so similar, they're going to be much more competitive. So what you want with sibling rivalry, doesn't always happen, is the bigger the gap, the better off it is. If you had a 13-year-old and a 2-year-old, and those are the only 2 kids you had, you're not going to get as much sibling rivalry.
Great, fair enough. And is there an age where this really starts to show up? Like, does it start as young as 2? Is it more when kids start to get to the school age?
No, it's going to be all the time. It's generally speaking, if you have kids that are like 5, 6 years old, they're going to fight about 3 or 4 times an hour. And then as they get older, into the teenage years, it's not necessarily going to get better. The time when it'll really be good, and this is good news and bad news, the time when it'll almost go away is after they've left home and they're no longer competing in the same household for the same resources, which includes you and your attention. And some sibs, after they leave home, they'll be warmest, best of friends for the rest of their lives. Some of them won't have much to do with each other, but a lot of them really become good friends. It's just the thing you wanted to have when they were living with you, but it doesn't work like that.
So outside of kicking one or more children out of the house, what can parents do to, like you said, this is inevitable. It exists. It's going to happen. What can parents do to get kids to fight less, at least, or shorten the duration of that conflict?
Well, the first thing to do is to stop awfulizing about it, because the more upset you get about it, the worse it's going to be. And then you have to have your strategies. And one good strategy is to let them work it out if you can stand to listen to it. And if one is not going to emotionally or physically abuse the other one. So that's what you can do. The other thing we do with 123 Magic is if I can't stand it or I think it's getting out of hand, I'm going to count it. but I'm going to count both kids if one is not the obvious unprovoked aggressor. So I'll say, well, that's one for both of you guys, and then you hold them equally responsible. The other things you can do have to do with some of the other things we're going to talk about today, but is not have them together as much. You can set up things so that they are not, in fact, in the same room. They're watching TV in different places. They're doing things at different times.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a great transition into the other thing that we're going to talk about today, which is the myth of whole family fun, which I know is something that you talk about in The Manager Mom Epidemic. And in that book, you're talking about it in the context of, mom feeling like when she has free time, she's supposed to be spending it having fun with the whole family, and how that's not necessarily a thing that's true. Can you talk to us a little bit more about that?
This is one of the big dreams, I think probably more for women than for men, but one of the dreams is that my kids, we're all going to be a happy family. My kids are going to get along together, and we're going to just have these wonderful vacations and just, have the best time. Well, I'll be honest with you. My wife used to say to me, let's go on a vacation. I used to say, no, thanks. I'd rather go to prison. And she'd say, what's the matter with you? Are you having a bad day? I say, no, there's two prisons. One's the car and one's a motel room. And one of the biggest things that interferes with the whole family fun is the sibling rivalry that we were just talking about. And so it happens so much, but it's really, for a lot of moms, it's a horribly disillusioning experience. They feel tremendously sad when it happens, that this isn't the dream I had. And then they get the idea in their heads that all the other moms they know and all the other families are having just wonderful times. And why is that? It's because all these families don't post their garbage on Facebook, and you don't get a chance to see it. It's going on. They're having their bad times too, but you think I'm the only one that's having these, miserable whole family experiences, and it's not true.
Yeah, no, 100%. I completely agree. As a mom who's in the thick of it right now, do not look to social media as the gauge for how other people are doing. Have an actual conversation with people whose families kind of look like yours, or moms who are in the same season of life. Because when I talk to my friends about it, like have a real conversation with them, even though their pictures look lovely on Facebook, they're like, oh yeah, no, that was the 5 good seconds during that 3-hour experience. So
you try posting on Facebook to everybody a question and say, would you answer this question for me? How did you handle it the last time your 2 kids wanted to kill each other? And see what kind of responses you get.
I anticipate some that would be useful, some that would be frustrated, and some that would be very funny. So, okay. Whole family fun is not necessarily the magical unicorn experience that we think that it can or should be. So given that, how do we have fun with our family?
Well, you split it up. You do your whole family fun times, and you try and engineer them as best you can. You can do a lot with different seating arrangements in the car, for example, different seating arrangements at a dinner table, and so on. But my favorite response to this problem is one-on-one fun, and that's one parent and one child doing one thing at the same time. And the reason it's a sure thing, which is really, there's 2 powerful reasons it's a sure thing. One is that kids cherish alone time with a parent. So you are almost guaranteed an angel child for that time while you're alone with them. The second thing is that there's no sibling rivalry. So as a parent, you are guaranteed that you're not going to get that happening. And one of the problems with sibling rivalry is not just the event itself, but the anticipation of it. When you get more kids in the room, the tension level rises significantly, and so on. And one-on-one, you don't have that. I did one-on-one with both kids, on a regular basis, and it was so nice. It was just so refreshing. My wife, we had 2 kids, 2 parents. My wife would do the other one. I'd take the one somewhere, and it was great.
Yeah, absolutely. And when my parents were raising my brother and I, there were 2 of us. They obviously did not have access to the 1-2-3 Magic program, but they did read a book called Children the Challenge, which my dad likes to frequently quote from. And his favorite quoted piece of knowledge from that is children are trying to get 100% of your attention 100% of the time. I feel like the nice thing about that one-on-one is, while obviously you can't give each child 100% of your attention 100% of the time, and that's not going to be great for your mental health either, it does give them a little bit of that. If you can give them 100% of your attention for a little while, you're kind of creating that connection and also giving them what they're looking for.
Yeah, you are. It's a great bonding time. You're absolutely right. You are really creating a connection. And if you have a difficult child, you need those times. That's very important.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Phelan. This was a great conversation. Even though we can't entirely get rid of sibling rivalry now, I think that parents out there have some good tools and strategies to use when it comes to that. If you know someone who needs to hear this, please share this video or tag them in the comments below. If you've not already signed up for our newsletter, head on over to 123magic.com to sign up for that, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much.